Okay, in this exercise, we're going to be taking everything we've learned so far about observing contours and edges and boundaries, as well as different weights and expressive qualities of line. We're going to apply them to a complex image of glass bottles. I'm not going to give you a demo this time. I'm just going to show you some examples of student work. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So we'll start by looking at this picture, for instance, just the picture I've taken off the internet. And if I put this in Photoshop and change the image so that it is reduced only to line and shape, we get something like this. Okay, so this is the kind of thing I'm wanting you to aim for. Notice that there's no shading, right? There's no lights and darks. All the shapes, the weird little shapes you see in this bottle and the weird shape here on the edge that are there, are just literally outlined. Even the highlights, you see the white lights here and here, they're outlined. And so what I want you to do with the line is, by playing with the line weight, you can achieve several things. You can get overlap. You can also get emphasis. Notice that these two dots are a thinner, lighter line than these two dots. And that's because these white reflections are much stronger than these two. Okay, this is a really dark edge. It pops out. I want you to use a dark edge. Don't fill it in. Don't color it in. Just make the line heavier. So you can see, these lines are heavier. This line's pretty heavy, but these lines here are not so heavy as are these lines here. So try and make that distinction. Everybody will be slightly different in how they pitch it, how they, which lines are going to be super strong and not so strong, things like that. But generally, we should all be on the same page. Here's another example. And if I turn that again into a Photoshop line drawing, it looks like this. Again, the highlights are circled. The lines that are running down the stripes, the side of a bottle, inside the bottle, things like that. The shadows are going to be optional. You can put the shadows in. They are pretty visually dominant, but I'm really wanting you to concentrate mostly on the glass. Okay, so in terms of some student work, you can see this student, there's a collection. These were done in class, and in-class students are not required to finish their work because I want them working at their own pace. But because this is an online course, or at least online for this part of the course, finishing is a requirement. All right. Again, you can see all the weird shapes and reflections that the student has seen in the glass are recorded. You can also see the construction lines, the central axis that the student has used, the sight lines, things like that. You can have those in your drawing too. But what we're going to do with those is we're going to get lighter and lighter as we use them. So they can be there, just don't make them too strong and too dark for our purposes. Another example, a nice study of a wine glass. All the reflections captured, the line weight a little stronger where things are overlapping. Great detail, good observation. When you look, you're going to see a million different shapes. What you need to do is to decide which shapes are dominant, which ones are going to stand out that you're going to keep, which ones you're going to ignore. Choose to ignore. And so how do you do that? Well, one technique is to squint your eyes. If you squint your eyes and the line stays, then you probably can be rest assured that it's a strong line. But if it starts to fade, then it's your call whether you want to put it in there. But look for all these little weird squiggles and wiggles that are happening in the picture. Another one here. Again, I'm getting all these shapes. They've outlined all the major highlights and reflections. The other thing that happens with glass is things get distorted. So you see the bottom of this bottle right here. As it passes behind this bottle, notice that it wiggles up and wiggles down. You're going to see that in the images, in the image that we're working from. The glass does not go straight through the glass that's behind other glasses. The lines do not pass through interrupted. When lines go into glass, they tend to break, go up or down, and they also tend to have a slight wiggle depending on the shape of the glass. So look for that. Let's see if I can find an example in here. Yeah, so this is the side of the glass right here. Notice that when it goes into this glass here, it wiggles. It doesn't stay completely straight. Here's the side of this glass, and when it passes into this glass, it breaks a little bit, and then it appears over here. Likewise, any lines that are running behind, this isn't a good example, it doesn't really have, so this line here, the line of the table, as it moves through the glass will also wiggle and move. And if we look in this last example, here's a good one. You see the base of this right here, when it passes into this object, it goes up. and then it goes fairly straight. So, don't make it wiggle if it's not wiggling. Keep it straight if it's straight. Okay, so the image is posted on the website. Have a look at it. Look for the distortions. Look for the wiggles, the highlights, anything that's strong. But first you want to start by making your glasses in proportion, having the right sight lines, and do all that very, very lightly. And then you can go in with your 2B to darken a few things, and then your 6B pencil to really darken it up.